Okay, so the next one I want to look at is this blend tool, which is a really fun one. So what the blend tool lets you do is blend between shapes. So for example, I could have this circle and this square, and I can grab the blend tool and click one and then click the other, and it will create these intermediary shapes between the two. Now what's cool about this is they are still live, so I can grab these and manipulate them, and see now I get a nicer result. I can, with this selected, go into this tool and change the attributes. So I could have more steps. I could have distance. I can also use this to play with color. For this project, I want to just do black and white, but we could, if I direct select this, make this one color, and then grab this other one, make another color, and then we would get these in between colors. We can also, you know, if I'm going to set the fill to nothing, we can also, you know, blend the paths themselves. So I can have thick to thin. Yeah, and I could also use this to make kind of gradated paths. So, for example, if I had an ellipse and another ellipse, and we'll make one. Oops. So if I want to make the fill active X, and then the other fill active, right? Once again, I can go from one to the other, and this path itself I can further manipulate. So we're not doing this yet. But I just want to kind of give you a preview of what's to come. I can add a point to this and control how we get from one spot to the other and create pretty complex kinds of forms, almost like faux 3D forms here with this. For now, though, I'm just interested in this a little bit more straightforward black and white things. So let's say here's another tool, the line tool. We'll get to the pen and the brush in our next project, but for now I'm just going to draw a line, and I'll be black with no fill. I'm going to alt drag to create a new one, and maybe this other line I'll have at a different angle, and then I'll grab my blend tool and have some more, and with it selected I can increase the number. Oops. All right. And then I can direct select and manipulate this. Okay, so what I want to do is start to compose this thing a bit and introduce a new tool. So one of the first things we looked at is this appearance menu here, and what is really cool is I can start stacking effects on this. So I can warp it, I can twist it, like so, right? And add distortions that way. But the one I'm most interested in for the homework is transform. So what transform lets you do is add repetition to things. So the first thing I want to do is just add bilateral symmetry, an axis. So to do that, I'm going to add a copy. I'm going to make sure preview's turned on, and I'm going to flip it in the X. All right. Now, by default, the transform effect is going to affect the center of the bounding box. And I'm going to go a little deeper into this. If I want it to go to the edge of the bounding box, I could go over there and over here, so you get different effects, which is fun. Okay, so if I want to make a new composition, I can grab my artboard here and duplicate it. And that's fine. And then I'm going to grab this and delete it. And once again, let's make a couple lines using the line segment tool. So 1, 2 lines like that. And then I'm going to group them because I want to apply it to both at once. And once again, I'm going to add a transform. This time I'm going to play, so that's biaxial. This one I'm going to play with radial symmetry. So to do that, preview's on. I'm going to add a bunch of copies, and now I'm going to start introducing an angle to it. All right. Now, once again, this is happening in the center of the bounding box. If I do that, it's more of like a rosette kind of thing, which is cool. But what if I wanted to move the pivot point and really control exactly where this is happening? So to do that, in Maya, I can move the pivot point, and same thing in After Effects. But in Illustrator, I have to create a bit of a hack. So what I'm going to do, if I know that the transformation can happen based on a bounding box, one technique is to create a bounding box that is bigger than your artwork, and then use that to control where the transformation happens. So what I'm doing, creating a big box, I'm going to make it invisible. I'm going to move my artwork in this box here, and then I'm going to group it all together. And then I'm going to add the transformation to this group. Again, a bunch of copies, a little rotation from the center, right? But now what I can do is copies like that. This is also super fun. Now what I can do though is I can go to these original paths and grab them, and now I can control. I know it's happening from the center, so I can alter where this transformation occurs, and I can have a little more control over my rosette. All right. And once again, it's live. So if I go out here, click this, go to my transform, I can add a few more copies, complete my circle. All right. And then I can also grab this whole thing and scale it down. Now I got another one. All right. And moving right along, let's make another artboard. And for this one, I'm going to make a pattern. So to do this, I'm going to grab a box and an ellipse. All right, and then I'll bring them together. Center. There we go. And this keycaster thing. That off. So I'm gonna use my Pathfinder, combine them. Then I'm gonna direct select one little path and delete it. So I got this little U-shaped thing. Right, and then I'm going to grab it, go to my appearance menu, add a transform. Okay, so to make a pattern, what you do is you can stack these transformations. So for example, I can make a bunch of copies and slide them around in the X, right? So then the question is like, what if I wanted to do the Y? If I do the X and Y at once, that's not what I want, right? So what I can do is, with this still selected, I can add another transform to it. And it might give you a warning, but don't worry about it. So 5, and I can add some more. All right, and I can also alternate it. Sorry, like that. It's kind of cool. Now, when I scale this, I'm scaling the original object, not the transform. The transform is happening to that object. It's like saying, take that object, move it 0.75 inches, make a bunch of copies, right? So I need to, in this instance, I need to adjust. Now, eventually we're going to be doing things in paper. So we want to kind of think about, in this instance, this would cut out some tabs and I could punch the tabs through, right? This would just create a bunch of slashes, but it wouldn't really take us anywhere. I mean, maybe for now that's okay, but it is just something to think about. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is, in this video, is let's say I'm doing something where I'm kind of engaging the edges in my composition, right? I want to kind of visualize what that's going to look like. So Illustrator has a way of dealing with this, which is called a trim mode. So let's say something like this. All right, and then I'm engaging the edges, and I want to kind of see what this looks like cropped. I go View, Trim View, and that will show me what it looks like